Hi, my name is Daniel McCarthy, and recently we produced a video in Arizona that went viral in regards to my challenge to Donald Trump while he's here in Arizona to answer my questions and debate me in front of our home crowd here in Arizona. We offered $1 million to the charity of his choice, and we had tons of support from around the country. I've gotten so many emails and phone calls and thank yous from so many great patriots, and I want to say thank you to all of you that have done that. We also received a lot of criticism, and that's why I'm doing this video. I want to go into some detail now and address some of the larger issues that for some reason Donald Trump gets a pass on that no other person in the country would have ever received a pass on. So I'm going to go through these point by point. Bear with me. I'll go as fast as possible. But starting off, obviously, with the elephant in the room with the pandemic. I think a lot of people forget that it was Donald Trump that ushered in Operation Warp Speed. That was in March of 2020. The culture of our planet has changed probably forever as a result of a 2-week slow the spread concept that was perpetuated by Donald Trump. Listen, you can't leave and usher in a communist government with a blank check on medical tyranny and expect conservatives not to at some point stand up and say, no, we can't support this guy anymore. That's what I'm doing. So it seems like common sense to me, but this is also someone that left us with Dr. Fauci. He rushed an experimental sauce to the market. I can't even say it because we'll be censored on the internet. Listen, thousands of people are dying as a result of something that was rushed to the market. We've never done this before in the Americans' history. And it just seems irresponsible to say the least. So on the pandemic, Trump failed us, period. Moving on to big tech. This is something now that we're all experiencing. We can't even talk openly. And the Trump administration had Republican-leaning House and Senate where they could have held these big censorship tech companies accountable for what they're doing. And nothing was done. As a matter of fact, it's gone into overdrive. And so much so that not only did they not pass anything, now parlaying Trump's administration into the business world, they raised millions of dollars with a reverse merger on his grand opening of a new social media platform that is, again, was reverse merged with a company that has ties to Wuhan, China. It just seems too coincidental to not talk about. The fact is that Trump failed us on big tech 100%. Let's talk about election fraud. I think this is the biggest issue of our times because without elections, freedom is hollow. There's no such thing as freedom if you have no real elections. Our elections are rigged. And as a matter of fact, personally, I can speak to this because I ran for United States Senate here against Martha McSally in the Republican primary. And it was just Martha and I on the ballot. And from a personal perspective, we know how the fraud was being committed. As a matter of fact, we had whistleblowers tell us after the primary how I was cheated. So regardless if you believe me or no, I don't care. The fact is that we notified the Trump administration of how they could possibly rig his election. He was aware of how they could do it. Not only did they not reach out to us, not only did they not work with us to prevent it from happening in November for his election, Doug Ducey was sitting in the White House the day after my primary, and there was a press conference of how safe mail-in ballots were here in Arizona.
In Arizona, we're going to do it right. It will be free and fair. It will be difficult, if not impossible, to cheat, and it will be easy to vote. 78% of the citizens already vote by mail in Arizona.
Now, again, I think now that Arizona is the laughingstock of the world in terms of our elections, I think we can all say that Donald Trump failed us in terms of preventing election fraud. Moving forward to January 6th, what happened after the election when Donald Trump called on the salt of the earth, the true patriots, to come to Washington, D.C. Close to 2 million people showed up. Many of them now are facing not only political persecution. We have individuals that are in fear for their lives. We have individuals being treated like dogs in federal prison. Jake Chansley is someone that I knew. He was here on the ground in Arizona. And this is someone now that 4 years will be spent of his life in federal prison as a result of Donald Trump's bait and switch. I look at January 6th as a setup. Now, you can say otherwise. You can say he shouldn't be held responsible. It looks like he cowered away and ran away when things got tough. He has 2 million people to come out there. And as a matter of fact, not only are they left in federal prison, many of them, for the rest of their life, they'll be ruined. as a result of what happened on January 6th. Shame on him for not standing up for those individuals and protecting them or fighting for them after the fact. And he failed us on January 6th, plain and simple. In terms of spending, the fact is that conservatives can never make the case again, Republicans can never make the case again after Donald Trump that we're hawks on spending. Donald Trump exploded our national debt. He continued ominous spending bills, and he continued foreign aid. He did not balance our budget. The list goes on in terms of spending, but let's just say, yet again, he completely failed us when it comes to our spending. Promises made, promises were not kept. That was the big slogan. Promises made, but promises were not kept. There was no locking up Hillary Clinton. As a matter of fact, I don't even believe there was an investigation into Hillary Clinton.
Mr. Trump said this when asked about prosecuting her. "I don't want to hurt the Clintons," he said. "I really don't. She went through a lot and suffered greatly in many ways."
And Bill and Hillary, and they were going to Michigan. No, it's okay. No, forget it. That plays great before the election. No, we don't care, right? That plays great before the election. No, we don't care, right? That plays great before the election. No, we don't care.
Uranium One. No bad actors were investigated anywhere. The individuals that, if any of us did what these people did, we would be in federal prison. But for some reason, Donald Trump campaigned on holding these people accountable, and none of them were. As a matter of fact, others actually, other mysterious things happened. For example, how about Jeffrey Epstein killing himself on Trump's watch and nothing was done about it? Jeff McAfee also committed suicide. And Julian Assange, of course, what happened? Why no pardon? How come we didn't repeal and replace Obamacare? These are all the promises that he made. There was no investigation into Dianne Feinstein and her Chinese spy. Or how about Mitch McConnell's wife? I mean, listen, the list goes on, but there was no investigation into any of these bad swamp creatures as Trump campaigned on. And no one can say otherwise. As a matter of fact, the Pedogate investigations just vanished. There was just some talk about him from some online anonymous source, right? Moving forward to gun rights. This is a hot topic for us here in Arizona. It's a part of our culture. Trump banned bump stocks. He issued in fixed NICS, which is a very dangerous policy. Now, the counter to that is some people have said to me, well, gun sales are higher than they ever were, right? Well, the reality is that there's more surveillance over gun owners than there ever has been as a result of Trump's signing in fixed NICS. So you can look into that on your own time, but I will tell you it's very dangerous what he did there. And he was also in favor of red flag laws and the TAPS Act. So Donald Trump failed us on gun rights, bar none. On immigration, this is the biggest failure that we've seen in terms of immigration. We now are facing pouring in of illegal aliens all across our country, and nothing was done other than now having a fence or a wall that has holes in it along our southern border. It's very dangerous what Donald Trump did. He basically put us in a position where we are not only at our highest point for illegal aliens coming into our country, but he also didn't revoke DACA. He did not end birthright citizenship. So the incentives are still there for people to break the law and to invade our country illegally. It's a pure invasion. And Donald Trump campaigned on that, but nothing was done to fix it. Listen, there's so many things here, but this category also has to be talked about. The endorsements that Donald Trump has given to America are terrible, to say the least. He has endorsed some of the worst cabal establishment candidates that you can. He not only endorsed terrible candidates, not only did he endorse bad actors, he also discouraged candidates like myself by offering them ways of not entering the race. There were many instances across the country, including with myself, which people like me were offered positions, future potential support for other positions, to not run for office. Think about what I'm saying. The Trump administration was actively trying to discourage good patriots from running for office during his administration. It's a fact. I personally went through it. Not just me, but others have as well. The reality is not only did he make some terrible endorsements, he stopped good candidates from getting in. Now, if you want to talk about some of the past endorsements that he made, these are Donald Trump's endorsements. John McCain, Paul Ryan, Mitt Romney, Debbie Lesko, Martha McSally, of course, Mitch McConnell, Doug Ducey, Greg Abbott, the list goes on. Listen, he also endorsed candidates that were not only bad candidates, he gave justification of why those seats were flipped to blue seats. So he endorsed people that he had no business endorsing for seats that he could justify. We could justify why they lost. So for instance, like Martha McSally in Arizona lost to Kirsten Sinema. She had no reason to be endorsed, and then she lost again to Mark Kelly. So it's obviously it's a hot button. I don't hold a grudge there or nothing, but David Perdue, Kelly Loeffler, there's so many of these names. All you have to do is go through it. That's Trump's doing. Why is the executive of our country even getting involved with Senate races? It's a whole different branch of government, but that's just off topic. He swore to fight the establishment in D.C., and he didn't do it. That's the bottom line. Not only did Donald Trump endorse terrible candidates, Donald Trump surrounded himself with swamp creatures during his administration. I can give you a list of names here, but a lot of these people are Bush holdovers. So not only did he endorse bad people, he also paid bad people and gave them jobs. I mean, listen to some of these names. Bill Barr, Paul Ryan, Ryan Seacrest, Dr. Fauci, of course, who we're still stuck with, John Bolton, Michael Cohen, Anthony Scaramucci, Jeff Sessions, Rex Tillerson, Gina Haspel, John Kelly, James Mattis, Omarosa, Nikki Haley, Mike Pence, Brad Parscale, Christopher Wray, Rick Perry, Paul Manafort, Ronna McDaniels, who happens to be Mitt Romney's niece, for those of you that don't know, and Jason Miller. The list goes on of all of the terrible candidates and terrible people that he surrounded himself with. And most of these people had no business being inside of a conservative administration. So, do you get it? Trump said a lot of good stuff, and he created a lot of good headlines to like rah the conservatives, but he also did something very dangerous. He appealed to Americans like myself that were so discouraged by 8 years of Obama. We had 8 years of just pure socialism being spoon-fed to us, communism being spoon-fed to us, that we sadly looked at Trump as someone that he wasn't. The reality is that the Biden administration, with a stroke of a pen, was able to reverse any of the good things that Trump did. And Trump left us with a real big mess. The Republican Party is more fractured than it ever has been, and conservatism is less involved with America than it ever has been. Trump submitted us to medical tyranny and changed the culture of our country forever in 2020. Regardless of your past support of President Trump, and I was an individual that donated $25,000 in 2016 to President Trump. I spent a lot of time on the ground. I gave a lot of my time consulting the Trump team to help him win in 2016. Regardless of how you supported him, and again, I was with many of you, we can no longer support Donald Trump. Donald Trump is actually suspect at this point. I think it's fair to say that he was a wolf in sheep's clothing, operative for the left, whatever you want to call it. It's clear to me that he is a Trojan horse for a very bad agenda. He did not do everything that he could or should have done to make sure that communism was not ushered into this country. At this point, the federal government is completely compromised as a result of Donald Trump. The medical tyranny, the fraud, the votes that were stolen from us, his inability to stand up to the bad actors, the 700 people now that are being charged federally. The list goes on. He never even one time even offered, that I'm aware of, for legal help for any of these individuals. So at the end of the day, no matter how much you love this guy, no matter how much you stock you put into Donald Trump, it's time now to cash out and to bail. Donald Trump is, bar none, the most dangerous Republican in the country, and that's why I'm spending my time talking about him. That's why I'm spending my time offering to debate him. So at this point, it's time now to completely disassociate with Donald Trump. Donald Trump is no longer capable of being relied upon, or there's no hope that can be given to Donald Trump. This is why I am offering the $1 million challenge that I did to charity for him to debate me. And I think anyone out there should celebrate the fact that a conservative is challenging Trump. If you like Donald Trump, you should still encourage him to test him on these points that I've made. He has to answer these questions. And I think it's just time to stop supporting the guy. So my final plea to everyone is that if you want to make Donald Trump a better person, if you want to make him a better leader, if you want answers to these questions, ask him why he can't talk to Daniel McCarthy in Arizona rather than propping up a fake news anchor or some of the other swamp creatures that he's going to be propping up while he's down here. So again, The offer still stands until tomorrow evening. Donald Trump knows how to get a hold of me. His team has my number. So we look forward to the opportunity, of course, to ask these questions and debate Donald Trump publicly, although I still don't expect that will happen. But thank you, everyone, again, for your support.